Welcome to Reddit Recap. Don't forget to subscribe. Reddit asks, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen happen at work? Worked at big outdoor activities center a few summers. There's lots of behind the scenes areas where the public can't see. Saw the new guy, who was definitely some friend of a friend of a friend favor hire from someone higher up. Not know where the toilets were, so just take a shit in a hedge behind scenes. I found him mid shit. He proceeded to make really crude moves on all the women, and I later found him receiving a blowjob from a guy in the same hedge. He was asked to leave. When I had an internship in an office, the second highest boss opened the door without knocking. My first manager used to slap everybody's ass when he first saw them on any given day. Not lightly either, like a full-blown smack. I literally had a red mark for a few hours once. Needless to say, he didn't last long. Was in a big meeting in a construction trailer and answer a knock on the door. Two guys look like a Cooper's laborers. Dirty clothes shirts had contractor names on them. Ask for a guy with a picture on a cell phone and name a company that's on site. It's a large site with a couple hundred workers, no way for me to know. Say I can go get their foreman from the meeting. At this point, one very discreetly pulls a US Marshal's badge out of his front pocket. A co-worker in a cotton mill had a heart attack and died right there on the floor. The supervisor roped off the area around him and work continued. EMT, coroner, police were all doing their job as we worked around them. Was in a big meeting in a construction trailer and answer a knock on the door. Two guys look like a Cooper's laborers. Dirty clothes shirts had contractor names on them. Ask for a guy with a picture on a cell phone and name a company that's on site. It's a large site with a couple hundred workers, no way for me to know. Say I can go get their foreman from the meeting. At this point, one very discreetly pulls a US Marshal's badge out of his front pocket. Tells me to get the foreman but not to make any disturbances. The guy they're looking for moves drugs. And apparently also finishes sheetrock for fun, I guess. Says they've got the 5-acre site surrounded, and if this guy finds out they're here, things would go bad quickly. Turns out the guy wasn't there, but still pretty weird. Today's a contender. I work in a warehouse and we were receiving this big transfer of just a bunch of shit. I lift some boxes and dude, a freaking caterpillar started walking out. We're keeping it in a small box right now and I've given it some pieces of lettuce. My youngin is chillin' right now. Edit. We're in the middle of a cold ass winter, so I'm not even thinking about letting it out. Edit. I'm conflicted. If I'm being honest. I've done some reading and I'm confident this one is a woolly bear caterpillar. Not only due to its appearance but where in the world it appears. Which is where I live. In my reading, I've discovered that they go around roadsides and meadow areas in the winter. And yes, these things survive especially well in the winter. With that being said, I'm thinking of letting the little guy go. I don't want to take him in just to lack the proper tools to care for him. I'd rather let him out to be free. I'm glad I got him anyway. He absolutely would have died in that warehouse. It's not all that cold. There's no food. And a vehicle could have squashed him. I think I'm gonna free him to a more survivable spot. One day I was at work and I smiled. That was pretty weird. I work at a small fancy Chinese restaurant, and last night me and my friend went in to go eat, visit some co-workers. We went in at the time where it was slowing down so much that the servers had time to sit and chat. We have a music system that will play CDs quietly over speakers throughout the restaurant. At one point when we had finished eating, me and my friend hear a piano and I think to myself, wow, these speakers are loud, but only after turning my head to the right to investigate. I see a keyboard. Someone managed to bring an entire keyboard into this restaurant. Me and my friend give each other a confused look, only to be followed by the party, taking up half of one of 3 dining rooms, beginning to sing choir music. Me, my friend, and some co-workers proceed to burst out laughing. Co-worker came in and found a chunk of his desk missing. After investigating, we found a bullet and a bullet hole above his desk. I ended up on the roof patching the hole. No idea who decided to shoot our building in the middle of the night. I work in a kindergarten for kids with special needs. One kid kept going for a quiet place few times a day. and we figured he just needed some time alone. This was outside in the playground where there was a little tree house in the back behind some trees. On the third day of this happening, I went to see what's up and encourage him to talk about why he needed time alone. I found him sitting on the ground eating one big spoonful of sand after the other. We're not just talking baby eating sand here, more like a medium-sized kid shoveling sand down his stomach like it was his favorite food. So yeah, this little boy probably ate a lot of sand during those 3 days and probably longer. He's fine now too. Great, and now kicked me in the butt when I saw him in a grocery store a week ago. A large heavy-set man falling down a set of stairs what seemed to be in slow motion, and once he got to bottom he screamed my balls. Then he got up, picked up whatever fried snack he was eating and casually walked away as if it never happened. I used to work in a building that overlooked a medium-sized river. One day my co-workers and I got to observe a river rescue of a guy who fell in and was having problems getting out. It was pretty fast water that day. While working at a supermarket, I was walking through the dairy department and saw a fellow employee over by the eggs. As I got closer I could see him with the carton open and he seemed to be turning each egg. After doing the whole pack, I asked him what he was doing and he responded, "The manager asked me to rotate the eggs." I facepalmed and explained what they actually meant. To which he replied, "That makes a lot more sense." For context, in the grocery world, to rotate means to make sure the earliest dates of expiration are towards the front of the shelf. Was at technical school, but I had that friend who was setting up a firewall for schools of the region. It meant that he had to check if porn sites were blocked. They were not. Most striking is having my friend and our teacher behind him looking at porn sites during class. The good old days. I work in downtown Toronto. My job requires that I go to those high-end consultancy firms every once in a while. The big names. You'd know them. One morning I was walking into the building for an all-day meeting. Normal fall day. Cold. The lobby was beautiful as always. Chandelier. Big glass windows. As I headed over the elevators I looked towards a commotion at the door. A well-groomed, middle-aged man was screaming at the top of his lungs by the revolving door. Naked. Totally naked. His suit was neatly folded on a bench and he had just lost it. Apparently he was a partner at this firm when the stress got to him. He just snapped. Edit, a letter. I worked in a gas station and saw people doing all kinds of drugs in their cars, from coke to booze to heroin. I also saw a pimp administer workplace discipline to his hoe. I work for a delivery app. I was picking up a fast food order and an open carry guy comes in. There's a security guard at this joint, weird, and he notices it right away. "Open carry isn't allowed in here, sir. Please leave." They start arguing and yelling at each other and I felt I should get out of here immediately even though I paid with the app card but hadn't received the food yet. And as I was leaving, I noticed other customers leave as well. My app understood the situation and didn't penalize me. One Monday morning, at 8 AM, there was a frog in the lobby. Not a small frog, either, a big frog. The front doors were still locked and it was Monday morning. So we had no idea how the little guy got into the lobby. He would have had to have hopped all the way from the back of the building to get to the lobby. A dozen full-grown men all singing Taylor Swift's Shake It Off in the shower together. Squad showers have scarred me for life. The CEO and I entered the building early one morning and found a long-time, well-liked employee lying dead on the locker room floor. His head was surrounded with blood from where it hit the ceramic tile floor and his face so swollen that we didn't recognize him at first. The guy apparently suffered a major heart attack and died alone. One guy did a spicy wing challenge at lunch. Later that afternoon he was on the floor of his cubicle moaning and crying and saying fuck so many times, very loudly. We tried to call an ambulance but he was adamant that he was going to be fine. Our office shares a bathroom with the dental office next door. The dentist is a weirdo. I'll walk in and he will jump like he was doing something he wasn't supposed to. There are other things but he comes off as slimy. This was in the 80s at a bad software company run entirely by men. Wonder of wonders. An extremely competent and popular woman programmer was appointed to a management position in development. The younger developers decided to have a parade. She was of Scandinavian descent. So they made for her a horned helmet and sword out of aluminum foil. And made for her a sedan chair out of a wooden chair with a couple of pieces of lumber under the arms for support. Then they carried her outside on the chair while she waved her sword. And paraded her around the parking lot at the head of a long column of programmers wearing fish hats and throwing firecrackers. I never understood the fish hats. Edit. And kazoo music. I forgot that. Those were the days. It was a really slow day and I kept getting distracted from the Lord of the Rings fanfiction I was reading by the weird squeaky noises I kept hearing behind me. I finally turned around and there was my manager. A 35-year-old man. About 3/4 of the way done with making a balloon animal crown for his life-sized Homer Simpson statue. I asked him to make me a doggy when I was done. And he did. A blue one. I kept it until I accidentally popped it. Which scared the shit out of one of my other co-workers. I worked the cameras at a casino and there was a kid, old enough to drink, who was given a free room to stay in because he was about to drive drunk. Instead of taking the room, he checked in, walked out the back exit, ran down a hill, ran full speed along the highway, army crawled his way up to his car, got in, drove off the parking lot, and was pulled over immediately. When I had an internship in an office, the second highest boss opened the door without knocking, stared at us aggressively, walked towards us and offered a box of chocolate marshmallows. Then he went out. He didn't say one word. That's all for this video. You made it to the end. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing so you know when the next videos are released. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.